Do you ever get to just like watch games as a fan, or now because like it's your club and you technically work because you're like presenting?
Home games, not so much, but the fan in me comes out. So like I remember Dreamtime last year, it was our home game, worked that game on the mic, and it was like the dying seconds we kicked the goal and I was in the race and I was just going, I was beside myself. So the inner fan comes out still when I'm working. I'm just like the race, just like cheering so hard. All of the fans on the side of the race are like, oh my gosh, she's nuts. But yeah, I actually weirdly become more of a football fan during the men's season because when I watch women's football, they're my competitors and I get far too invested in the games. I go, oh, what could I do in that situation against that opponent?
Punch.
Yeah. And I really struggle to actually be a fan in my season just because of the competitive in me comes out too hardly.
I know what you mean. Like I grew up watching every comedy show ever, and then when I started doing it as a job, I can't watch it anymore because it becomes work, and you start engaging with how did they get this or what happened here, and it doesn't mean you don't watch it, but it changes your enjoyment of it entirely.
Yeah, it's definitely happened to me, and for someone that does commentate on the women's games as well, it's a real push and pull for me. It's like I need to watch this because I know I'm going to jump on a show and have to talk about it. But then I'm like, oh gosh, all I can think about is how I dissect this game, and it's actually it's almost like a work times 5 when I watch it.
Yeah.
Is that period at the end of in that season now does your whole lifestyle change for 10 to 11 weeks of the year? It must be weird with the men. It's like half your year you're literally playing every week, but it's this 2-3 months of just absolute is that hard to manage, or do you just pivot?
Oh, you pivot, and everyone pivots well because it's what we have to do. I struggle with it every year because all I want to do is be around my team and be training, and when preseason hits, you're like, oh, all right, we're going. But this period from last game that's in November to end of May, it's 6
months.
That's a massive
It's a
period,
huge amount of time where your lifestyle and your connection to your team completely changes. And that's something that I'm very mindful of. And you go from routine to no routine to then finding what your new routine is for 4 months.
Yeah, and then you would forget the recency in your mind, and
Yeah, and there's been a change which has been good with us being contracted for 12 months of the year now. So that's allowed us to really access our clubs a little bit more have a little bit more resource, more officially but unofficially, but have that resource there to really help us through this time, which I've seen a real shift in that, which has been fantastic and will help the competition in general, having that touch point more officially. But it's a really difficult time of year. People normally pick up their working hours and then their training has to fit around that. So instead of training in the day, you're training really early mornings, late nights. I think it's absolutely remarkable, some of the stories in AFLW. We've got Sophie Alexander, who's a paramedic, who comes off 12-hour shifts and then trains and performs like they do. And then we've got Steph Kane, my co-captain, worked full-time, ridiculous hours, actually been on the Whitten Oval project.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What does she do?
She's in construction management, a boss lady.
Yeah. That's very cool.
And it's and then is able to do what she does at training. And there's the AFLW is littered with all of those stories everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's actually remarkable of what players are able to do.
What's your work-life balance like in that time? What do you do?
So I actually work at the club. So my life is Essendon. I love the club.
Sash.
Don the sash forever. So I am the Women's Pathways Coordinator at the club. So I work through the NGA space, multicultural and Indigenous participants, helping them get through pathways. And we run a few other programs for 14, 15-year-olds just to bolster the talent within the Northwest region, help them get into whether it's the Calder Cannons or into the talent pathway. So that's been really enjoyable for me. I've had to learn on the fly with how the Northwest region works with EDFL, RDFNL. So it's really exciting what I get to do, and I've come across some really talented 15, 16-year-olds that hopefully maybe in a few years might be my teammates, which would be pretty cool.